Now, you lovelies, I want to talk about something that I think is important, and I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it because I know it's not everyone's favorite conversation, but I think it's really important to address it in a different way. Every channel and everywhere has been talking about box office. And I know that's the boring side of movies, and I know it's the capitalism side, I know it's the business side of show business. But if things don't do well in the box office, they stop making these movies. And I think a lot of that is optics. Movies are really expensive. And I think there are things that can be changed about that element. And I think that movie theater tickets are really expensive. And I think that A-list is how I afford to go to the movies as much as I do. And I think there are things that can change about that. That said, I think there's a huge problem with the optics of celebrating movies' failure. I think when a movie doesn't do as well in the box office, it gets way blown out of proportion because people have this thing where they like celebrating stuff that is popular's failure, or they like celebrating something that makes other people happy that they don't connect with doing badly. It's a weird human nature thing where we like celebrating failure and we like celebrating negativity. And then on top of that, the internet globs onto negativity. The internet by its nature is going to have more negativity come to the top. It's going to grow and it's exponential. That becomes a problem. But I think it's very important we look at a big reframe with the superhero box office failures because 2025, this year, we have finished our summer movie melee. August releases are much smaller. There is no August, September, or October release as big as anything that is already out. The next big movie I think that is actually huge is November and December's late wave. So in that in mind, we have covered most of this year's big movies. There are still more, but you could say that the top 10 domestic box office, at least 6 of those will likely be in the top 10 at the end of the year. I think that's very important to look at. Now, we are living in a post-pandemic and post-strike box office reality. Movies will never be as big as they were before the pandemic because we forgot how to socialize. We forgot how to be people. I hope they get back to almost that size. That means I don't think we're going to see as many billion-dollar movies as more. And I think that being the barometer and the base at which we judge a movie by is short-sighted, and it makes things that aren't failures look like failures. I think we need to compare movies to their own year more than we compare them to years past. I think the strike really messed things up. It was important to have, and it was important to fight for those rights. But I think that it changed the movie-going public's perspective on movies. There's a lot of animosity towards movies that isn't the movie's fault, that isn't necessarily even the studio's fault. I think the pandemic messed up our socialization. I think it messed up the exhibition industry going out in public. I think it changed everything. So I think looking at movies compared to that year's movies is a more realistic comp than going, well, it didn't do what it did 5 years ago because it was a different time 5 years ago. So with all that being said, I wanted to talk about this year's domestic box office with all of these failures of superhero films. There are traditionally a top 10 domestic box office you look at. There's like 50, but the top 10 is what everybody focuses on. Guys, out of the top 10, I'm not fudging numbers. This is today's box office. Out of today's top 10 at the box office, we have not 1, not 2, not 3, but 4 of these so-called superhero movie failures. We have literally 40% of the top 10 is just superhero stuff. This is domestic. This is insane to me that everyone thinks these are failures when, yes, the money they cost is a lot. But if this is what movies are doing, how can we possibly see 40% of the first half of the year we have covered through July? Ooh, I got a thing from Tipsy Scoop. As a failure, you lovelies. Now, the only one of these to make near $500 million domestic, a kids movie, and then another kids movie, and then Jurassic, which is always going to make a ton of money just by the nature of it. Then number 4 is literally a comic book movie in Superman. Number 5 was the huge breakout hit Sinners. Never forgive those articles that came out that said it wasn't doing well. How to Train Your Dragon, another kids movie, and then boom, 7, 8, and 10, all comic book movies, you lovelies. We need to reframe what it is that we're comparing to because that's domestic. I'm ready to read the comments of people that clicked off this video already saying like, yeah, but that's only domestic. Oh, I was ready for y'all. We got international, the worldwide box office. This is the top 15. I expanded a little bit because basically worldwide is going to have more movies like Naze 2 hasn't even released with the American dub yet, hasn't started doing well here. I think it's getting released this month. So I'm looking at the top 15 here. And look at that. Out of the 15, those 4 are still in the top. If you want to just go to 11 up. 4 out of the top 11 movies worldwide is comic book stuff. So I think we really need to reframe what it is that we're comparing to. I think we really need to look at numbers more realistically for today. And I think studios are adjusting accordingly. I think movies are going to change how they're financed. I think distribution is going to change. I think we need to work on the theatrical window because it is far too short. Today, Jurassic World released on digital. Jurassic World is literally the number 4 biggest movie of the year worldwide. It came out 1 month ago and it's already on digital. We've got movies like Superman that need a little bit longer of a window because it's only dropped like 40% this week from last week. That is an insane drop for a 4th week window. Movies need to be in theaters longer. That's going to need to change. But out of this top 11, Nezat 2 is number 1. Lilo and Stitch kids movie, the only movie to clear $1 billion this year, American. Minecraft got close, didn't clear it, 955. Jurassic World slowing down at 766. The first Jurassic World probably not to clear $1 billion, but nobody's calling it a failure because it didn't make the money the last 3 made. It still made 766 million, and it's coming out in digital. That's going to cut that off at the legs. How to Train Your Dragon at 618. I think that Superman's going to catch up to How to Train Your Dragon and Mission Impossible, clearing 6 there. That's a big old success. And then after Superman, it goes to F1, Captain America Brave New World, Thunderbolts, which is out of theaters, which is on digital, ending its run at 382. And then Fantastic Four, rough second weekend. But if the optics are things are failing, they're going to start failing for real. If we want to focus on negativity, it's going to stay negative, and it's going to really hurt this industry we love. So looking at it, comparing to this year's movies, maybe even last year's movies, but not 5 years ago's movies, and those things that need to change, box office window, people behaving themselves in public, expectation of box office, so the optics are different. All of those things are going to have to shift, but I just wanted to point that out because it was really bothering me. All right. I am going to talk about the comics themselves, you lovelies. And then I'm going to read a few of these live chats as I can. I promise to get to every single super chat. Let's do a couple super chats before we go to the comics themselves. First up, The Winter Recruit. What if the post-credits for Brand New Day... This is such a crazy idea. What if the post-credits for Brand New Day is Doom giving Peter the symbiote? I hope Secret Wars allows the suit to exist as it is in the comics, where it's like he doesn't know he's getting a suit. He goes in to get his suit repaired, and then it takes over him. I don't want Doom and Spider-Man to have a more important relationship than Reed and Doom. They might, because of the casting, but I think that's a fun idea to play with the MCU casting. I think it could work, but that would allow a way closer connection between those 2 characters than Reed and Doom, which I hope doesn't happen. But if it does happen, that's a fun way to make it happen. The Winter Recruit. Robert, thank you very much for the super chat, man. And Robert, thank you, sir. Huge fan of yours. Thanks, man. I hope you're getting caught up on your books. I'm trying. I just got back from vacation on a cruise, so I have 2 weeks of books to read. I am finally on last week's books. The books I'm about to tell you guys are from July 23rd. Today, I've got a bunch of stuff to do, but I'm going to start my July 30th books. And I might, if I catch up in time, I might do a bonus live stream on Friday. That way we're all caught up, and then I can go back to regularly scheduled Wednesdays. So ideally, I'm going to be caught up by the end of this week. I read 23s. I'm about to read 30s, and then I'll be reading tomorrow's books alongside you guys if all goes well. Trying to read like 15 books a day. It's not easy, but I got a lot of stuff going on. But yes, I am catching up. I have caught up-ish, and I appreciate that very much. It is something I can do silently while my voice recovers. We will see. Yes, let's dive in. And by the way, I'm seeing what comments are being said. I do think there are issues with the movie theater prices. I mentioned that, but I also think people like Ragged Recording. Any household that can afford tickets has a massive screen at home. Why would they go anywhere to watch a movie aside from a crowd experience? I like the crowd experience that some don't care for anymore. I like the crowd experience. I get people wanting to stay home. I personally think that it's really bad for our mental health to always be home. I think it's really bad to isolate. I think the community element of human nature is important, but I know that not everyone agrees with that. So I think that the price of TVs is like one of the only things that feels like it's actually cheaper. Black Friday, you can get like a giant TV for like $400, and that's less. I think it's a problem. And I think that's why the tickets need to adjust. I think that, selling toys at theaters has helped buoy them, the popcorn buckets and actual toys. But I have never had a home viewing experience that I thought was a better decision than going to the theater. I've never watched a movie at home and been like, glad I didn't see that in theaters ever. I go and see Netflix movies at iPix when I can. I literally will find any way to see something in a theater every time. I really, I don't like first time home viewings. It's not the way movies are, to me, meant to be seen.